children and pets,
Yes,
like
very much so.
going get giving us away here, like it's always the spoiler alerts that
Right.
we get in the very beginning of these sessions, which is to me the most wonderful part about this conversation anyway. Like I feel like by the time we've been through the years of knowing each other, it's the only way to be.
Definitely.
So very lovely to connect with you guys on this side of the conversation. And I have so much excitement for all the things that we're going to talk about. But I think that, it's a wonderful place for us to start in the beginning, I guess. And one of the things that I want to know is how was it that you realized, okay, things aren't going straightforward, they're not going very smoothly, or, you know, taking a bit longer than we think, and that you needed to do something.
Um, I would say we had been trying for about a little over a year when I started just kind of questioning my OB at my annual checkups. Had never had any positive pregnancy test and had been tracking my cycles to an extent. So they had me to track them on paper and return, and they just kind of analyze things. Anyway, time continued to go on. I think there was a slight luteal phase defect. And so they, after about 2 years of trying and no positive pregnancy, I went on Clomid for 3 cycles.
Yeah.
And so all 3 of those were unsuccessful. And right at that exact time, the COVID pandemic hit and all the offices shut down. And the doctor was like, well, I'll let you do one more round of Clomid because there's nothing else that we can do at this point. We don't know when we're going to open back up. So, try that. And then you're just going to have to wait. There was conversation about my mom had endometriosis.
Mm.
She had 2 surgeries, I believe, and had some difficulty having my sister and I. So I knew that I had a lot of those symptoms growing up with painful cycles, extremely painful cycles. So I just
Mm.
always assumed that I had it. I just never had the invasive laparoscopic to diagnose it officially.
Mm. Mm.
So that was going to be, if Clomid didn't work, I think that was going to be the next step, was the laparoscopic procedure. And my OB was going to do the ablation. So kind of during COVID, it gave me a chance to research that a bit more and look into it. And is that exactly the right thing to do? And we had kind of time to really focus in on things. And I was a teacher, so school was shut down. So I literally didn't have anything to do. So I was just kind of, as a teacher, the way I deal and process with things is learning more and just kind of digging in. What have we not done? What have we not tried? I think at that point, Trevor had at least one semen analysis done, and it was normal. But other than that, they had just done basic blood work for me. So it was just kind of like, oh, well, unexplained infertility.
Yeah. What else could it be?
And so we were like, okay,
Question
well,
mark.
what more? And they were like, oh, no, this is just the typical, this happens.
We didn't really know where to go from there. It
Yeah.
was hard because so many doctors specialize in so many different things. They don't really build a comprehensive plan. So we're spinning our wheels at that point. And didn't know where to go.
Yeah.
And that's when
I kind of stumbled. had been doing chores around the house and had my headphones in, listening to podcasts on fertility, and somehow I still tried to go back to find out which one exactly, but somehow you were a guest speaker on one, and I was like, wow, she seems great. Let me just check in. So I went to the podcast notes and found the website, and oh, they're doing this fertility challenge next month. It's free. I mean, what else do I have to do right now? And
Just sit here.
Why not? And I open up the very extensive application, and I'm like, well, it was actually kind of nice because it allowed me to reflect. At that point, I hadn't had the opportunity to truly reflect on what we had done just within that 2.5 year period.
Yeah.
So it was kind of nice to reflect on that. And then we pretty much, I think simultaneously we did that June fertility challenge and interviewed with you and Allison to become clients. And honestly, I thought we were going to be like an easy case, because you were like, we don't take all the cases, like we're going to take ones that are going to be challenges. And so I was like, yeah, we're probably not going to make it. She's not going to choose us. But yeah, we met with you and became patients and started the work.
Started the journey.
And,
Yeah.
and isn't it interesting, because we will discuss just how easy this case was.
Right.
Because and this is the thing that it's funny, because obviously having been doing this work now since 2001, I've seen most things. And the reality is that every single time that somebody has been trying for more than 2 years, it's never going to be easy. And
Mhm.
I always say it to patients, because patients are usually hearing from their doctors, oh, this is an easy case, this will be fine, we'll just do an IVF cycle and you'll get pregnant. And then it's like 5 cycles later and we're still not there, and we're still going, but why?
Right.
Right. And the thing about your case is that there was so many different things that were not identified before you began treatment with us,
Right.
that it was just a lot of unknowns, right? It
Mhm.
was a lot of like, okay, well, you're relatively young, everything is looking quote unquote normal, there's no kind of major diagnoses that we have. And so it becomes a situation where we have to start that work from nothing.
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
and so of course that can take time, because as you will go to the doctor and the doctor will just say, well, there's nothing else you can do,
Right.
just
Or
go and do IVF.
right. Or you're young, like you've got plenty of time, like don't be worried. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, but something should have happened by now.
Yeah.
Especially if you are young,
Right.
right? I mean, that's the thing that really it boggles my mind, because the reality of it is that yes, when you're young, that's when it should happen the easiest.
Mhm.
And so if it hasn't, then it's even the more reason to go and question, but why has it not happened?
Right.
Right. Because imagine this, right? You guys obviously are on the other side of this conversation, completing your family, and it's just, it's beautiful. And of course, we'll dive into all of those bits. But imagine in your situation, knowing everything you know now. Imagine if you had just sat there and just waited. Where do you think you would have been
We would
had you not taken charge?
We'd still be at it.
we'd still
probably.
be where we were
Yeah.
probably when we started, to be honest, because we think
Mm.
about, we'll get to, all the things, but even just from the chromosomal standpoint, the number of cycles that we've been through and the number of eggs retrieved and embryos created and things like that, in terms of relating that to natural cycles. I had done the math before. I don't even remember now, but I mean, it would be upwards of 6 years
Yeah.
if, we're thinking of one egg released each cycle and things of that nature. So say hi.
And then,
Yeah.
and then here's our little
It
spoiler
really-
alert of the best kind. Hi,
So,
Kallan. How are you? So nice to meet you.
give a smile.
I got a tiny smile. That
Yeah.
makes me happy.
You gotta work
That
hard.
makes me happy. I know you've got to work hard for these kids these days. Very nice. But yeah, so keep telling me the story. So you then obviously then you went through the challenge, you decided, yep, this is for me. And this is really part of why there's two major reasons for me that I've been doing the fertility challenge for such a long time. The first is that I want as many people to have this education, to have access to this understanding that you just don't get by going to your GP, to your standard care. You don't get the information that you get in the fertility challenge and the understanding about what you can do, you know. So for me, that's the number one thing. The second thing is something that you've touched on, which is I really only want to work with people who want to do what it takes.
Mhm.
You know, like I'm getting older by the second. You know,
Yeah.
it's not just my patients, it's me as well. And it's like, you know what, after you've done all of this, you want to know that the people that you're working with are on the same wavelength, you know.
Right.
And so that's really important to me. But and I know that you, Danielle, I remember that when we spoke, you were very much like, yeah, this is what I want. But I know that Trevor,
Yeah.
Trevor.
Yeah.
It took some convincing.
It was a lot. It was a lot of change that we, it seemed daunting for sure. But
Mm.
Danielle got me on board and slowly started to process it all. And, you know, I was in it at that point. We were both dedicated in achieving, you know, a family.
Mhm.
And
You know, you guys were great. You really implemented and you got in there and you did the thing. And it's not unusual, you know, when somebody has already gone through, especially in your case, Trevor, where, you know, you were told for all intents and purposes, things are normal, you know, semen's good, there's nothing really to worry about. I can understand where people are like, well, if there's nothing to worry about, then I don't really need to do anything.
Yeah.
yeah.
Right? So there is that to it, which then
Mhm.
of course we know that there were lots of things to do
Yeah.
to do to quote unquote worry about. But you know, it was really about figuring out, okay, what made you actually decide? I mean, obviously Danielle was a critical factor, right, in deciding, okay, this is something we're going to do. But for you personally, as a man, like what made you go, you know what? Yeah, I probably need to do this, or I want to do this. Was it you, or was it because of her?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think initially it was because of our, you know, shared goal and having a family. And then after seeing the light, if you will, it also was a personal improvement too, from, you know, cleaning out our endocrine system and controlling those hormones and, you know, getting all the chemicals out of the house, and, you know, eating better. So physically, it was, you know, something I wanted as well. And mentally also,
Mhm.
you know, you know, the therapy part of it was phenomenal, because again, in the American medical society, I mean, you get like base minimum. And if you don't know how to advocate, you don't know what questions to ask, you continue to spin the wheels. And sometimes doctors are seeing you for, you know, 2 minutes, you know, a year, and they just go with their standard protocol and they don't really go into really looking under the
That
hood and building
personalized,
that
yeah.
plan specifically for you that is going to get you to that point. And you know, I didn't know how to advocate. I didn't know what to ask for either, and how to ask, to
Mm.
get to the next steps that we needed to start uncovering, these things. And you guys were a godsend in that regard
Mhm.
as well, because, you know, I had no idea. I'm naive. I'm following the doctor's lead, and, you know, on everything, and thinking that, you know, they're doing the best they can, and, you know, they are. But you know, they may not go into the detail that
Like the root of the
really,
issue.
the root of the issue that we were looking for at that point, especially after 2.5 years of question mark after question mark after question mark, you know, and just it being a trial and error. You know, I couldn't believe that modern medicine at this day and age, it was still trial and error. It's like, how do we not know what the issue is, and, you know, how to attack it, and how to, you know,
Like, or, oh, we don't test for that. Really? Like, it's not that obscure. And having to like find, you know, a clinic in a like 16 hours away that tested for sperm antibodies. It's like, really, this is not that unheard of. But
Yeah.
No.
you know, going to this, but yeah, I think one of the other things that he had mentioned when we had talked about this before is like, you know, we had been told unexplained up to that point, and then in the initial, I don't even know what we call it, but testing dump, so to speak, of like, we're literally testing everything. We're testing the heavy metals because we had some of those, the infections, the genetic testing, all of that stuff. And as we started to see, even with the typical blood testing, but with more refined parameters of what's best for fertility, not in individual cases, not just everyone. I think we started to see like, okay, we're not an easy case. Like here are issues and we're checking off boxes that we couldn't before. So what do we have to lose? Like, I think as soon as those results, even just before we really did anything, started rolling in, I think that was one thing that helped him kind of be like, okay, we're making some progress. Let's see where this
feeling
goes.
The progress.
And then it just continued to snowball from there.
Optimizing, right? All the deficiencies that we have in today's society with the chemicals and the nutrition deficiencies. You guys, we wouldn't know what to do without you guys. So you definitely helped out with that for sure.
It's interesting because, even when we start a case and we start treatment, always there are stages that we have to go through, right? And one of the things that I say to patients all the time is that no matter how easy you think this might be, it's never a walk in the park, right? And obviously, as you guys know, it wasn't something that happened overnight. Obviously, there were so many things that were found. And, even as I look through the list of items that we uncovered, I'm like going, wow, and we found that. Oh, and we found that, and we found that, and oh my God, and we found that.
Literally.
Tell us, let's talk about some of those things, because I think sometimes people don't quite realize how much depth we're going into when we are doing workups. And and what you spoke to as well, which I think is so important, is that we're not just looking for standard normal ranges. We're looking at optimal ranges and how we interpret those results, and as a result, how do we implement and apply treatment to what we find is something that's quite unique as well. So what were some of the surprises, not necessarily good surprises, but surprises nonetheless,
the heavy metal testing, where we had to send in samples of our hair. So we joked that our hair made it to Australia before we have. So we claim that we're going to make it there at some point.
Well, I definitely I want to meet the whole family.
Yes, for sure. So I know that because we're like, there's no way. But I think we had some aluminum levels and who knows what else, or at least I know I did. So the infection, was it the DQ alpha?
We found DQ alpha. There was NK cells, there was thrombophilias, there was immune anticoagulant therapy was needed. Like there was a lot.
There was a lot. Yeah, we ended up found out that I had a balanced translocation. So which I kind of found out through my sister, but also honestly with the help with you guys, because one of the main, things that would lead to somebody to do that testing would be recurrent miscarriage, but I had had absolutely no positive pregnancy whatsoever. So when I had asked about it before, they were like, oh no, that test is expensive. You don't need it. You don't fit the mold. So we're like, okay, fine. And my sister, meanwhile, unfortunately had 3 miscarriages leading up to her first born. And she had gotten the testing done as the recurrent panel and found out that she had the balanced translocation. And so being a biology teacher, I was like, okay, I know enough about genetics. Like I may not fit the mold, so to speak, and so, we had talked to our practitioner about it through the program, and she kind of helped coached us how to advocate. Because for me, again, I'm not like a confrontational person. If they're going to push back, like I'm always get super anxious about it.
Got to be ready.
So I wanted to make sure like we were going in, because some of them just doing the basic blood testing, they were like, oh, you guys are wasting your money. Like, this is like a hoax. They're not
Yeah, you should go into IUI.
Yeah, like you don't need to do this stuff. And
Sure.
so we, I knew it was going to be a challenge to try to get people to do the test for us. But anyway, finally, when we went to the clinic and after being coached from our practitioner, the fertility specialist was like, I don't think you need it, but obviously you feel this strongly about it, so let's just do it. And sure enough, and he even had a conversation with me in the consult, and he was like, I'm really glad that you advocated for yourself, because we were going to do IUI, and obviously given those results, that would have been a waste of time and money. I mean, maybe it would have worked, but just
and possibly the risk of a miscarriage.
exactly.
Just one of those.
Yeah.
But isn't that interesting? And isn't it interesting though? It's quite vindicating to hear that from a doctor.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
No, because really, like we get this all the time, and exactly what you just said. Like so often, we have to tell our patients, listen, you have to say this and this and this in this way.
Mm-hmm.
If you say anything different to this, you are not going to get this test.
Yes.
Right.
And isn't it crazy that we have to do that?
Yeah.
Like, it is insane.
Yeah.
And at the same time, here we are, NK cells, thrombophilias, DQ alpha, translocations, DNA fragmentation, like you name it. There's like literally there is enough here for 10 people to be infertile and never have a baby, let alone one couple. And here we are with the easy case,
Right.
Right. Yeah.
No, it's insane. And then of course, like the tip of the iceberg things, which is the luteal phase defects, and all of those things obviously are things that ordinarily you would find. But in your case, it's exactly what you said. Had we not gone into like, right, we need to really go through and figure out what is getting in the way,
Right.
you would be one of those couples that would still be trying 10 years later.
Oh, for sure.
Thousands of dollars in debt. And,
Yes.
Yeah.
Miserable because we still don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Touched on the emotional, side of things. And for me, I don't do well with stress. I don't handle stress. And it was getting to the point in our journey where obviously it was a stressor. It was draining. And then just with my job in general, that was a very high priority. And I probably put a lot more time and stress into it than what I should have, but that's just kind of who I am. I want to do a good job. And being a perfectionist in nature, it's just, I'll do what I need to do, to get that result and to be impactful. And so, if we would have had the guidance from you guys, especially on that emotional side and like how to handle the stress levels and how to process things, and even just giving us an avenue to just kind of discuss things and take a moment and reflect. And with those additional sessions that you offered, I tried to go to as many, the book studies, the meditations, the emotional releases, all the things, because I truly found benefit in those.
Sure.
And
on top of COVID going on, I mean, it was just a state of
it was a lot
chaos and depression, it was.
But yeah, I think that's one of, other than obviously our dream of having our baby boy, but I feel like I truly just have a different perspective on life and just challenges and how I handle and process things. And I have a better kind of mindfulness of like, okay, Danielle, you're getting way too involved or way too worked up. Like we need to, like our coach would talk about the snow globe with the mind. And so yeah, we will mention a lot of little sayings and things that we recall from those sessions, because they really have made an impact on us.
Definitely life-changing. You can use a lot of these tools for everyday life. And so it's definitely changed our lives.
So much more than fertility.
For the better part of our life, and for Kallan's life too, and for any other family members we have. We're going to continue that on, even with the chemicals, being out of the household and, just eating better. And we're continuing that still to this day. And
maybe not as tightly, but we're definitely more aware.
Yeah.
And trying to be
I
more.
think so much changes because you are aware, you start making different choices, and so that definitely makes a huge difference. But isn't it amazing? Like, I just look, because, sometimes it's difficult for people to quantify the value
Mhm.
of doing something like this in advance, right?
Mhm.
A
Yes.
lot of times people kind of go like, oh, but is it really worth it?
Mhm.
It's expensive. Do we really do it? Should we? Like, the number one thing that I hear is, is it really worth it?
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure.
I listen to you and I go like, oh my God. It, like, the lowball, you guys have saved a good house deposit on
Yeah.
not having to spend it on fertility treatment,
Yeah.
Right.
Lowball. So
Yeah.
it's amazing to just see like how and of course, and by no means was it easy or straightforward or immediate. There was a lot of work, there was a lot of things that needed to happen in order for us to be able to even uncover these things, even from the perspective of like us knowing that we have to get a test done and actually being able to get the test done.
Right.
There's time delays, there's constraints of getting a referral and doing all of those things. But so much happened because you already went into it knowing what you needed to intervene and where you needed to make these changes that
Mhm.
you wouldn't have known. And this is where that all makes a huge difference. So there were lots of surprises, let's put it that way. Lots of surprises along the way. What were some delights? What were some things that you kind of feel like, oh wow, this is and you've touched on some of these, but was there one thing that you can recall that you kind of went like, oh wow, this really made a difference to me in my life?
Um,
I'm trying to think of like the one
the
thing.
one thing I know.
Because the whole thing is, I mean, without you guys, we would
Yeah,
not
for
be
sure.
here
For sure.
today.
Yeah. I think
So
from me, probably just the emotional side of things. And I remember very clearly when we started, one of your goals was, obviously you're doing this to have your dream baby or have your dream come true, but also realizing if that doesn't happen, being able to accept that and understanding that you're still bettering yourself and your futures. And I think that just struck me because obviously at that time we didn't want to hear like, oh, you're not going to have your dream baby. But we had never really had to think of it that way before. And I think that's when we truly understood like, we do need to focus on ourselves and put ourselves first, which I wasn't and still sometimes I'm not great at, but being able to do that and see the importance of, honing in on the root causes and not just treating the symptoms at the time. So I think just having all of those resources, and the more that you can integrate yourself into that, obviously the more you're going to get out of it. I don't know if I can think of one specific thing.
I think it's such a combination of factors, isn't it? But tell me, how did you guys keep yourselves going? Like, how did you help each other through this process? Because there's a lot that obviously we need to do to support you and guide you and give you tools and strategies, and there is the day-to-day of life, right? So what were some things that you guys feel worked really well for you as a couple in keeping each other moving forward and head above the water, so to speak?
there was a lot of swimming for sure during that time, but we kind of relied on each other and the tools that you guys helped us with, and how to address things, how to communicate things, and how to put things aside that we couldn't control.
Yeah.
That was a big anchor, and at least for me, of sadness of the unknowing, and not being able to figure things out. Right away. I wanted answers because I knew that we had a clock, and that clock seemed daunting, for sure. And, yeah.
Yeah, I think us just sometimes coming back to the, we're spending the money and we're dedicating this time. So, if I start falling or he starts falling, like, I'm not just hurting myself, I'm hurting both of our chances. And like, ultimately we're doing this for the same reason. So I think sometimes just coming back to like, why are we doing this? I don't feel like, once we got started, of course, I'm sure there were some bumps in the roads and things to overcome and, joys and sadness, but I don't recall there being too many times of like, are we doing the right thing? Like, I don't ever remember that being a concern. Like, I think we always knew, like, we're on the right path. I think it was more of like, how long is this going to take?
Yeah.
Are we, they're basically a part of our family now.
Yeah.
So, we're probably, some of the longer standing, because I know that you would say like roughly within like a 2-year period or whatever. And then we're hitting, year 3 and we're like, okay, great. Like, they're really probably trying to scoot us out the door at this point.
It's so funny that you say that, because we're never trying to scoot you out the door, but we are definitely holding your hand from beginning to baby and beyond and going, all right, now we need to move this along, and at the same time, understanding that things, do take the time that they need. But you've touched on something really important, which is that commitment and steadfastness to do what it takes, right? Because often people get to a point that they put time as the objective on their journey, as opposed to the outcome that they really want, which is their healthy baby, right? And in what world would it make sense to start, continue, and then stop because it's been too long?
Right.
It makes no sense, obviously. But it's also one of those things that you almost have to start with that knowledge that it is going to be a marathon. Most people conceive within 12 months. But sometimes, we've had people on the program for 5 years,
Right.
and so it's like, and they've had their baby, but it took what it took, right? And so it's about also understanding that when things haven't been straightforward and we're still not done, because when you're done, like, so often people ask me, when do I know? Should I keep trying? It's like, you don't have to ever ask that question. When you're done, you know. Right. And it's really important also to be able to learn that for yourself. And the journey is the part that actually gives us that privilege and opportunity almost, right? But when I say to people that we do hold our patients' hands from beginning to baby and beyond, this is what I mean, that we are there. And look at us, however many years later, here we are again,
Right.
So that for me is one of the big privileges of this work, because I love these really long-term relationships. I love nothing more than when literally I'm scrolling through my Facebook and I'm seeing my babies, doing their thing, doing them. It did start to scare me a little bit a couple of years ago when I start seeing my patients' babies graduating from university and going to the army. Like, I'll be honest, that was a moment of like, oh my God, how did this happen? Or when I have these women that I'm like, look, I'm going like, but you are a woman. You are not a baby anymore, And it's just like, wow. But it's a privilege. It's such an incredible gift. And so with that said, because I look forward to seeing your family growing and thriving, for many years to come, take me through the next stages. So we found all the things we found, and then it was like, okay, balance translocation. How are we going to go about this? Tell me what ended up happening. What were the next steps?
So the clinic that we did the testing with, we jumped right in. We kind of changed paces from IUI to IVF. So we did an egg retrieval. the amount of eggs retrieved versus fertilization wasn't great. And then to the embryos also wasn't great. And then we had them genetically tested and came back with one embryo.
From what, like 15? So it was.
That's a good question. I wrote it down because I can't keep track.
It
They
was
all
a
mixed together. This
very
You did
small
take very, you did take very nice notes, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I like,
I
yes,
was
of
like,
course, she's a teacher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
17 eggs retrieved, 14 were mature, 9 fertilized with ICSI, 2 blastocysts. So yeah, it was 2 blastocysts, and then 1 embryo was euploid. So that
And
was in
I think
June of
that it's
2021.
important here to give context that, with this kind of results, because you think, gosh, there's so many embryos, so many eggs, and we would have done a whole lot of work to get to this point. But you see, it's not the same when we have 2 major, major, major factors
Right.
in play here. One is a balanced stress location. In its own right, it's going to cause, a lot of these embryos to be abnormal.
Mhm.
And the second is the match, the DQ alpha match,
Right.
where not only that, I mean, you had other factors as well in terms of thrombophilias, and obviously that's going to have an impact on embryos and embryonic development.
Right.
So it's interesting because we often kind of think like, oh, but that wasn't a very good result. Well, actually, that is an incredible result
Mhm.
for the situation at hand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had read so many people, not even getting one. So we had really, and I had kind of coaxed because I knew I had really educated myself on that. So, going into it, I was trying to be open with, Trevor, when each day when we would get the report on the progress, and I'm like, okay, like it's possible we might not have anything. So I'm just approaching like if we come away with one, that's fantastic. Which we did for our first
Which
cycle.
is, by the way, such a great mindset to have in your situation. You see, if I had none of those parameters with a couple and they have 17 eggs and they have no embryos or 1 embryo, I'd be like, hang on a second. But in your situation, I think it's a wonderful mindset to have to go, you know what, like this is hard. This is like this level of hard,
Yeah.
right? If we have 1 embryo, it's amazing. And
Mhm.
yes, I agree, it's amazing.
Mhm.
So, it's really interesting how the situation sometimes has to dictate the expectation
Right.
that we
Yeah.
set for ourselves, because we don't want to set ourselves up for failure.
Right.
Right. We want to set ourselves up for a good mindset that's going to actually help us to keep going until we get the outcome that we want.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It just kind of shows you what mountain we had to climb.
Mhm.
I mean, 17 embryos down to 1 actual,
17 eggs.
sorry, eggs down to 1 viable embryo. So I mean, yeah. What was the chance? Do you remember that percentage? Like if we were
Of the
not to go
miscarriage.
through this process, the
The
miscarriage.
50% chance of miscarriage
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
for the natural, yeah.
And then what was it, like 75% of it being
25% having balanced translocation like myself, and then 25% being perfectly typical,
yeah, okay.
normal.
Yep. So
But yeah, so that was June of 2021. My doctor for my apparently cervix was very complex. And
Oh, we had one more thing.
yeah,
and he had the most challenging time, just even with the mock transfers, like they would be super painful, super long. He just could not get the catheter
Yeah,
through my
sedate you.
cervix. And I often would be like, okay, is this maybe another reason why we weren't naturally getting pregnant? It's like, oh, no, like not at all. But anyway, so we didn't have a transfer scheduled until October of 2021, because I ended up having to do 2 mock transfers and a hysteroscopy and cervical dilation, because he was trying to dilate my cervix enough to make it easier for him to get through the embryo. But we had everything was perfect leading up to the transfer in October. Every lining was great, taking the medication, all is well. We're positive, we're ready. We're 15 minutes from the clinic. We get a call, your embryo failed to thaw. And it was like the perfect embryo, they said. And
Yeah, it was
so,
like 6A.
and yeah, 6A. And they were like, we're so sorry. They were devastated. Obviously, we were devastated. That was not in our radar. And we were both surprised, because I feel like normally I'll at least be educated of like, what are the risks of this happening?
Yeah.
But they were like, yeah, it's less than a 5% chance. And of course, if we had more embryos, it wouldn't have been an issue. They could have just stalled more. But, it was so defeating, because we had done all this work. We were so positive. We were so ready to go. Our first one had the perfect embryo, and then it was literally gone. And so I think, at that point, that was truly pivotal, where we really had to do work from the emotional side of things, and like backtrack and like, okay, we missed the ball on that. Even if we prepared, it still would have been devastating. But we could have done another egg retrieval and potentially had more embryos, and then done the transfer, and maybe not have had that issue. But I mean, we had done what we did. So we had consults, and we decided, as a couple, we weren't going to move forward until we had 3 embryos. So however many egg retrievals we would have to do before, just to give us that bank in case that happened again. So we did the second egg retrieval in January of 2022. So a year later, 19 eggs retrieved, 16 mature, 15 fertilized with ICSI, and 6 blastocysts were biopsied, and then 2 euploid embryos. So much better results as far as like the egg quality, the fertilization. But we had been continuing on, the diet, all the things leading up to that.
And that's such an important point, because often people want quick results, and they don't realize that it takes 12 months for an egg to go from primary follicle to ovulatory follicle.
Right.
It's a 12-month journey.
Wow.
Now, many people don't have that kind of time to wait for optimization. And so we just have to go ahead and do the things that we need to do as quickly as possible. But isn't that interesting, that difference in results with a year down the track?
So we ended up with 2 euploid embryos. We said we wanted 3. So
Yeah.
although we almost gave in, we were like, no, let's just do one more, because who knows what might happen, all the hypotheticals, you're not getting any younger, blah, blah, blah. You're responding well now. And that was something we were kind of coached on, of course, because we're both fairly indecisive. So having extra people to just, what do you think?
Yeah.
What should we do? What are we not thinking of? Was really helpful.
And we talked all of this through the practitioners.
Yeah,
and
life coaches.
Got their advice, and they helped us come to a decision.
So then March, so 2 months later, we did our 3rd retrieval, same clinic. So 14 eggs retrieved, 12 mature, 9 fertilized with ICSI, 5 blastocysts were sent, and 1 came back. So there was
look at that.
We're like, all right. Again, at least 1 came back, because we were like, oh no, what if 1 doesn't?
Yeah.
Are we going to go again? We wanted 3. So we, in that process, as we were waiting for the results and everything, I had 1, 2, 3 mock transfers and hysteroscopy and cervical dilations, because the doctor continued to have trouble. And Trevor at this point was frustrated, and he was kind of like, let's go.
I was like, I just want my baby.
I thrive on those personal connections, obviously. And
this is our first and
this was our
only
first and
connection.
only connection, our only clinic we'd been at. It did have a satellite clinic that was somewhat local, so like that was kind of maneuverable,
especially
with work,
with a teacher schedule.
And so, I was kind of focusing on the positives and blocking out like, these should be red flags. But again, I've never had to do a transfer before, so I didn't know if other people would have trouble getting through my cervix or not. So anyway, we ended up doing, in June of 2022, a frozen embryo transfer, and that failed. In December of 2022, we did a 3rd one. So there were 2 more hysteroscopies in that time frame, and cervical dilations. And that transfer also failed in June of 2022. So we had the consult with the doctor. And again, Trevor was pretty much 2 feet out the door. He was just there for me. And we were devastated because, obviously IVF, it's still not a guarantee. You can do all the things right, the perfect embryo, the perfect timing, and it's just even the tested embryos. And it's just sometimes it doesn't work. And so I think at this point, this is where having the personal connection with the clinical director and the doctor was beneficial, because he kind of sat us down and was like, okay, you have one more embryo here. We can transfer it, but obviously, like, I'm still having trouble with your cervix. And we're to the point where we shouldn't have to continue to do hysteroscopies and cervical dilations. So if you were my daughter, I would recommend for you to get a second opinion.
That was so lovely that
Yeah.
he recommended that. Wow. That is, that is commendable.
And
Very
without him
commendable.
doing that, I would have probably stayed. Unless Trevor really would have convinced me. He had been trying, and I wasn't giving in, because I was just like, we have one more, like, maybe this is it. Come here, buddy. It's okay. And so I said, okay, who would you recommend? Because we didn't even know where to begin. And so he recommended this clinic, this particular doctor. And so I was like, okay, I trust him, despite not having the success with him at that point. So let's just take a look. And of course, again, with you guys in the program, your practitioners helped kind of guide us through and talk us through, okay, should we do this? Should we not? We're going to have to kind of start back over on some of the testing and things. But, even as we're waiting to switch clinics, we're still doing the work that we need to do, from the program perspective. So we ended up going to the clinic and the doctor that the first clinic had recommended. And he did a mock transfer right away, because I made it very clear, like, look, this has been an issue.
We need to test it out, make sure this is
Yeah, we're not going to come to you if you're continuing to have the same issue, or if you have, we kind of posed the question, like, what do you suggest? Like, this is what we've been through. What would you do if you had a complex cervix case? I don't know.
He wasn't concerned.
And so he was like, no, it's fine. I'm like, okay, sure, I'll believe it when I see it. But literally in and out, no problem. I'm like, what? That's it? Like,
no.
It's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah, all done. I'm like, oh my gosh. Then at the time, I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have listened to Trevor. Like, what were we doing? We wasted, but you live and you learn.
Well, let's talk. Maybe we should talk through that, because I think it's very important to not settle on a doctor. Maybe you need to search and look around and make sure that you are, maybe getting the best.
Right.
I mean, you are spending a lot of money, and all of them are pretty close in price.
Yeah, in our location,
it might be a little bit further away, but you definitely want to canvass your options and make the best decision after you reviewed all options. Because hindsight, right? Maybe we wouldn't have stayed there that long, and tried as long with that clinic if we knew there was another clinic that we wouldn't have had these issues with. And then also there was an issue with the embryo that we did have. We couldn't transfer it because it was genetically tested, and not every new clinic will take those, because the genetic testing isn't upheld to the same standard as maybe the new clinic,
In our current clinic, the new clinic was like, that's one thing that they're very, like, they have their method. They're very particular with it. So we had tried. So that's what we thought, we're going to go into this new clinic. We have one embryo already. Don't even have to do the egg retrieval. It's all good. And they were like, nope, we're not going to transfer it. So we're like, okay.
Yeah, that was super frustrating.
We paid all this money to have this one embryo that obviously, we don't want to transfer at that other clinic. Sure, he's been successful and, is in great with other cases, but just for me, he was having difficulty. So, anyway, so we were like, okay, there's nothing we can do. We tried. And so we went back through the egg retrieval process.
As you know, the egg retrieval process is the most expensive part of the process, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we had to start from scratch, and we also had the extra expense to cryo freeze now this embryo at the old clinic,
right,
that we didn't know if we were ever going to use at this point. So yeah, that was a super challenging, and we had the pro that we had a doctor now that we could do
the transfer. Now we just need embryos.
But now we need the embryos to do and we couldn't, so back to the make sure you are going with the doctor you want to go with in the beginning, because then maybe we could have avoided.
It's so hard. That I can say this from where I sit in terms of seeing thousands of people over the years. It is so difficult to make the right decision
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
about a clinic and a doctor.
Mhm.
Because, yes, the reality is that if they are providing IVF service in most countries, there is a standard that has to be met
Mhm.
by all.
Mhm.
Right. And they're comparable in many cases. And yet, yes, there are some differences in expertise and ability and all of those things. But it's so, the one thing that I will say to you is don't put pressure on yourself to go, oh, we should have known better. We should have done more research. We should have, because really, like you shouldn't.
Yeah. Hindsight is 2020,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Would they change
And
anything? Probably not, but it's still good to
yeah.
know to make sure you look at
It's
all
good
the
to know, and it's good to do your homework. There's absolutely, like, I think that one thing that is absolute is that you want to ask all of the questions to ensure that you feel comfortable, whether it's with an IVF doctor, whether it's with us, whether it's whoever, right? You want to know, is there a proven track record? How long have those people been doing what they've been doing? Because that makes a huge difference. Like, if you know that somebody might be showing that they're doing great work, but they've been doing it for 2 minutes, well,
Right.
who knows?
Yeah.
So there's
on the flip side, there is maybe they were doing it for too long.
well, there's also that. There are certain people that need to retire, absolutely. And so, that will absolutely make a difference too. And especially, when we're talking about dexterity, when you need dexterity, when you need, precision, all of that for sure makes a huge difference.
Mhm.
And yeah, even before deciding on the second clinic, our current clinic, Trevor had called literally all of them in our remote area that we were able to go to be like, hey, we have an embryo. Are you willing to transfer it? Because we were like, if somebody will take it, like, obviously we're going to consider, we weren't going to go with them necessarily, but
Yes.
we were going to consider them first and then decide from there. And no one would.
Yeah.
And so we were just like, okay, well, we had this recommendation. We had a really good feeling when we had the consult with that doctor. And so we're, and then the mock transfer, trial transfer was really great. So come here, bud. So, we were like, okay, let's just do this. So May of 2023, we did egg retrieval number 4, 21 eggs retrieved, which I think was the highest.
Yeah.
20 mature.
That's borderline too many.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I remember I was hurting for that one. 21 eggs retrieved, 20 mature, 16 fertilized with ICSI. 3 fertilized but were abnormal, but they were continuing to watch them progress. 8 blastocysts were biopsied, and then 3 euploid embryos.
Oh, look at that.
So that was by far the best results. But again, thinking of still all that time we had been doing all the things.
Yeah. Yeah.
which obviously continued to show. So they did one more trial transfer just to make sure
Just to
the
be
first
sure.
one wasn't a hoax, but it wasn't. It was a quick in and out. So July of 23, we did our first transfer with the second clinic. So technically, I guess the fourth scheduled transfer. And that was a day 5-3 AA embryo, and that is the one that stuck. So
That's
we
the one that's screaming in the
yeah,
background.
that's one that's screaming in the background. So we had finally at that point 6 years,
Yeah,
6 years, and had our first positive pregnancy test.
amazing.
So I waited because my mindset was when we started this new clinic, like my mindset was better than it ever had been. And I kind of had decided, like, you know what? I had micromanaged so much at the other clinic that I realized how stressful that was. And as soon as we went to the new clinic, because I was like tracking my levels and comparing and having to advocate for like the scheduling because it was a smaller clinic and one doctor, and oh, he's out of town, giving some conference, so you can't do this then. So at the new clinic, a lot more hands, people doing specific jobs. And I immediately was like, oh, wow, this is nice. I literally just show up, do what I need to do. I literally don't have to think about it. And
They're doing their job.
yes,
Yeah.
they did their job. I did mine.
They
And
need a confidence factor too in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, we know he can transfer
Yeah.
the embryo. So it's kind of like a fresh start. Let's do this. And of course, the help with the program, practitioners and life coach kind of working us through and
Yeah.
getting me to that point.
We
But all
played
along,
played the
meditation,
on the way there.
yeah,
on the
we
way
actually
back.
still listen to it sometimes.
Yeah.
Made a meditation
Oh,
for me and recorded it of, preparing for the transfer, and it's going to be a successful transfer, and
Get us in the right mindset.
yeah. And so we listened to it, on the way and on the way back, and periodically, anytime, we got frazzled. But I kind of quickly noticed how, like, I was just letting it go, and I was just gonna accept whatever happened, and we would move on from there. And
Have the hope.
even once we had the transfer for the other ones, I had tested before, and they always say not to. And I was like, you know what? That obviously didn't work so well for me last time. And up to this point, it has actually been nice not knowing like what my levels are and all the things. So I'm just going to let it be. And so when we got the call, I immediately ran upstairs and took a test real quick to actually see it for myself. But yeah, that was definitely, I think, what I needed to see too. Of course, that's not the reason why the transfer worked, but it was so much more enjoyable. Like I truly felt like I was soaking in all the moments because I was not worried about the things that I could not control.
Yeah.
So again, there's no way I would have gotten to that point without you guys, because yeah, it's hard for me to shut all those things off sometimes. So
oh gosh, but you guys had such a journey. I mean, look at that, right? It's certainly, when you look back now, like what do you kind of feel in terms of your journey? And I know that it's hard to go, what we've just said, hindsight is 2020. But what do you feel in terms of like, how would you have approached things differently or exactly the same? Like, looking back, would you have done anything differently? And what would you have kept?
I would have found her earlier and started earlier.
I don't think that would have helped
At a
you, to be
younger
honest.
age. But yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't think you had too much control of that. But yeah.
Honestly, I have a hard time saying that I would change anything, because I feel like, no, despite the challenges, the heartbreak, like all the things, like we have more than what we ever envisioned at this point. And so you know, sure, we could have gone to the new clinic earlier, but like, would we have had success? Would I have, for me personally, like, would I have grown and from the like mental emotional side of things and be where I'm at today? I don't know that I would if I wouldn't have gone through what I did. Which of course I wouldn't wish on anyone, but I think being able to acknowledge, you know, those challenges and like, wow, I don't know how we got through that, but we did. And, you know, look where we're at now. And, you know, even just with the avocation piece, that's something that, you know, will continue to stick with us, you know, from now and with Kallan and everything. So, yeah,
probably.
I don't know.
You know,
I don't know what I would do different.
I think
Maybe finding you guys sooner.
Yeah, I think knowledge is definitely a huge part in this. And, you know, as two people not in the medical background, well, biology,
but
some part
not
of
the same.
science, but, you know, not knowing what issues there could be, you know, and trying for 2.5 years naturally, unknowing of these, you know, everything that we've had to overcome. You know, you need to know. I mean, you just got to do the research and find what could be possibilities of issues that you could be facing, and you have to advocate and test for it. And you know, if you're not doing that and you're having issues for that long of a time, you really need to talk to Gabriella or you know, start doing the research and diving in and learning about how to you know, overcome those obstacles to achieve, you know, your goal in creating your family.
Yeah, even just from the nutritional aspect. And, you know, still never had, I actually had a laparoscopic procedure scheduled for like a month after the successful transfer in July, because I said, you know, we don't have time to waste. The transfer may work great. If not, I'm doing a laparoscopic procedure. And I had set it up with an excision specialist and we had done all the things. And I was like, you know, this is the other big box we haven't checked off. And we had been kind of pushing it down the road because we didn't want to do it unnecessarily. But I was like, if this transfer at the new clinic fails, like, there are two things we need to do, which was the lit therapy, which was the thing that we would have had to travel to Mexico for because no one in the US does it. Or if they do, it was like wait list upon wait list.
Yeah, New York.
And so we had actually, I remember we rush ordered your passport because it had expired. So we were actually going to do that too. We had everything lined up in the works. So we're like, if this transfer fails, like we're going to, whatever it takes, we're going to make these two things happen. And luckily, I didn't have to go through with the laparoscopic procedure or the lit therapy because we had success with the transfer. But even just from, you know, not having that official diagnosis, you know, the amount of inflammation that the gluten, the dairy, especially, and I'm a big sweets person, so the sugar, you know, that was of course very tough, you know, cutting out initially when we did, but when we started seeing those results and how good that we felt, you know, we were like, wow, we should have known, like, we should have known this a long time ago.
You know, it's really interesting. And I want to touch on this because the other day I literally got an email from someone saying that they didn't want to be contacted. They received an email or whatever, and they didn't want to be contacted because we're just overrated and overpriced. And you know, I listen to you and I go, wow, I continue and will continue to be overrated and
Please do.
overpriced.
Yeah, because I saw, I mean, my cycle, pain in my cycles, I mean, a drastic shift when we started being consistent with the diet.
And so, knowing all of that, would you invest again?
Oh yeah,
without a doubt.
for sure.
Yeah, hands down. For sure.
Isn't that interesting?
Mhm.
I love the fact that, I often have difficulty expressing the value of what it is that we do in real terms, to people, because people think that I'm just making this stuff up, like, of course it's in my interest that they're going to do my program. And so it's like, oh, surely she's just overselling it, right? And I'm like, "Mm, I've got too much work to do to
Yeah.
oversell it."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
you know but when you then explain and you go through and from your words of how you've experienced this process, it becomes so clear that, like, sure, you can try and go do this on your own, but I don't know.
After going through this, I can say I don't know why everybody's not doing it this way. It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, you're getting to the root cause of the issue of the human body. You're taking out, environmental factors. You're optimizing your natural body to do the best it can, and then you're building a plan to figure out, okay, hey, what are other issues that are going on that could be preventing this from being a success, and then finding those things out, and then continue to build a plan on it and moving along, customizing along the way.
Mhm.
I don't know why everybody's not doing that. I mean, it's just throwing mud against the wall and
Mm.
hoping it sticks. And it's just crazy to me. If we didn't find you and enroll in this, yeah, we would still be spinning our wheels most likely, and we wouldn't have our beautiful son with us today. So
Oh,
yeah.
and I think that it's fair to say that it's not just one beautiful son, because what happened after that?
So he was born, let's see, April of 2024. Everything's pregnancy was great. I was just trying to soak it in because of all that we've been through, and knowing that that could be my one and only time. So, but everything went well. And this past March, I
Because you ended up with 3 embryos that
3 embryos at
last
the new
time.
clinic. Yeah. So we had
1 got transferred, we have Kallan.
right, and then we had 2 left. So we were talking about when Callan was turning 1 in April, we would then go back and kind of do the initial work to get back into the clinic to start preparing for another transfer. Last school year was kind of crazy for me. I think just a combination of first time mom and a crazy school year. So I was like, we're waiting till the summer break, but we'll make this happen. But surprisingly, in March, my cycle was 2 weeks late, and I naturally got pregnant.
First time ever.
First time ever, which was complete shock. We hear of these things, and I'm like, of course, like this would happen. Super blessed, obviously, because again, it had never happened before naturally. But at the same time, super guarded because we knew the chance of the miscarriage was 50%. So made it to, I think I was about 10 weeks for the appointment, went in for the scan, and there was no heartbeat. So there was the miscarriage. So that was a grieving process for sure. And again, I was guarding myself, but I still don't think I was prepared for that. And so that took some time to kind of work through, and even still process that it happened. Like sometimes I still find it, shocking that it happened. But anyway, we went back to the consult after we were ready to move on from that. And when we had the follow-up consult with our doctor, we asked again. I told Trevor, hey, we've had now success with Kallan. Let's ask again about that transfer, that embryo from the other clinic, just to see what happens. because we're now paying storage at 2 places.
2 places, yeah.
See what happens if we can at least get it over. So the doctor's like, well, realistically, there shouldn't be any higher chance of me doing it versus that doctor. And I'm like, but we had success with you where we didn't before. So he's like, yeah, sure. I'll put it through again. Let's see. Come to find out, they approved for that embryo from the last clinic to transfer over. So they approved it, but we didn't want to use it right away. So they just kind of put a stamp on it and filed the paperwork away for the time being.
It also wasn't the best of the 3.
Right. We had one embryo at the current clinic that was a higher quality. And we didn't want to select. And so we were just going kind of from top to bottom with the quality. So we decided in July, actually 3 days apart from the 2-year mark of when Kallan's transfer was, we transferred our second embryo from the new clinic. And that resulted in a biochemical pregnancy. So again, lining was perfect. Everything, worked out. It just was one of those things. So
and I mean, I think that, one of the important things to note here is that we still have, you still had risk factors from the miscarriage perspective in terms of the thrombophilia. So, these things can be playing a role as well.
Right. Mm-hmm. And also at that point, like I didn't feel like I was as tight. I had not been on our supplements because we were taking, of course, what we had learned from the program and just trying to do what we could.
We've actually never stopped really.
Yeah, we had little
it's kind of how we
periods
live
of time.
now.
Yeah,
a little looser
with the diet, but yeah.
We try to live by that now, to be honest.
So I'd try to rein things in a little bit more. And then beginning of October, we scheduled another transfer, and we decided to use the embryo from the first clinic. That one was a higher quality than our last one at the current clinic. And so we decided to go with that one. Was that what you're talking about?
No, I was, do you want to explain how, we decided to use which embryos? It was just based on the quality.
Oh yeah, that's what I said, the quality.
Right.
Yeah.
The thought process was you didn't want to burden yourself.
Yeah. We decided we didn't want to know the sex of the embryos. And we did know at the new clinic, like the ratio, we had 2 boys and a girl, I think, but we didn't know which ones were which.
Right.
And with Kallan, we didn't know until he was born. We wanted the complete surprise. But
you're stronger than me.
Yeah.
With the surprise piece. Woof.
I'm such a planner, so it was hard for me, but that's something that from the get-go, Trevor had always said he wanted to do, like even before our journey. And so, of course, the more and more we got into it, I was like, okay, you know what? Like, we've waited this long. I can wait 9 months. Like, it'll be well worth the surprise. Yeah. And it definitely was. And so, yes, in October, we transferred the embryo, the last embryo from the first clinic. And it was successful. So currently, hoping that things progress. We go next week for the first official scan.
And this one we want to know the gender.
This one we do actually want to know.
We don't know
it will be a fun change, from what you've already experienced.
For sure.
But wow, what an incredible, I mean, you guys are amazing. I have to say, like, there are people that I get to connect with throughout the time of doing the work that I do. I still remember you guys implementing in the fertility challenge, like doing all of the things. And I'm like going, yay, these
the lemon
guys.
tree. Remember the lemon tree?
Yeah, you guys were awesome. So, like my stars, my superstars in the fertility breakthrough program usually end up being the people who are like absolute guns on the fertility challenge, so you guys are definitely on top of that list. But it's just, for me, it honestly is such a privilege to be able to be a part of your family, to be able to be here having this conversation with you, to have your trust, to have, you know, your love, your care. I can't say enough how grateful I am that our paths have crossed and that all of us have become a part of your beautiful family. So thank you.
Well, the same goes to you all. Like as we've said many times, there's no way we would be where we are without you guys. And you literally are still a part of our family. I know. I think I think we were with the program until Kallan was 6 months, and when I started going back, once I started back to work, he was about 4 months old. So we did about 2 months on the program. With me working, and it was just a lot to balance. So we had decided it might be best just to kind of take some time. But that was so hard. Like I remember that last meeting, I was like, oh my gosh, we have literally been doing this for almost 4 years at that point. And you know, we had all been through so much together, and you guys had been through every single walk of the journey with us and helping us navigate. And yeah, it's one of those things that I talk about. I've mentioned this a couple times. You know, you never thought that having kids is something you always hear about certain things taking a village, and you never think about having kids taking a village to have kids. But in our journey, it most certainly has. And we are where we are. We are where we are today with our village, with you guys, our family and friends. Once we decided to start sharing with them and being a little more open, you know, our employers, just everybody from the get-go has been supportive. What can we do? How can we help you? You know, don't stress, take as much time off. So we have been so blessed to have the people surrounding us, even all the way across the world. You know, in ways that we never imagined. So we are forever grateful.
It's funny because when we first started this, I was like, how is this going to work? Yeah, they're all the way in Australia. And you talk about value, and this isn't cheap to do. Insurance oftentimes doesn't cover much, if anything. And but you know, we found so much benefit in this across every metric that you could measure, beyond mentally, physically, even life changing, even now. And you know, if you're gonna do it right. I mean, because if we didn't have you, we wouldn't know where to go. So, I mean, we would have been talking to 10 different specialists, trying to figure out what everything means separately, looking at these daggone lab tests, like Googling everything. And you know, we didn't have the expertise to do that. And we didn't know how to advocate for changes or supplement deficiencies. I didn't even know the chemicals in my kitchen were affecting me in the way that, you know. So we're so grateful that we came across the podcast and found you. And Danielle sold me on you, and I'm glad that we did this, and I'm glad that you helped us get to where we are, and we wouldn't have changed a thing.
It's truly an all-in-one.
We would do it again.
It's an all-in-one approach, and you guys were more hands-on than any doctor locally, honestly, were or had been, you know, ever ultimately digging into things. So yeah, you think, you know, how detailed can they get through a virtual phone call? But I mean, you guys, you were relentless, and you dug and you found. Sometimes we were like, oh gosh, what are they gonna find?
Yeah.
Like,
do we want to go?
Do we actually want to go to this? So yeah, sometimes it's like, oh gosh, they're gonna, you know, we weren't that great on the nutrition this week, and we had to track, and they're gonna yell at us. I mean, you know, there's never any of that. But
and even the meal plans. I mean,
that was so
fantastic
nice.
ideas through the week to help us.
Yeah, I forgot about the meal plans. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. Now, we can't finish this conversation without your beautiful words for Callan. So,
Uh,
Do you wanna-
what words would you like to leave him with in this conversation when he's watching this, much later down the track?
I'm glad she wrote something because I wasn't prepared. You go ahead and start.
Oh, you want to do?
Yeah.
So Callan, if there's something else, some of the best lessons and opportunities for growth come from failures. If you put everything you got into it, it'll work out one way or another. It may not always be the way you envisioned, but there is a plan for you.
There are so many people that love you and loved you before you were even on this earth, including us, your mama, dada. You have changed our lives for the better and brightened so many days with your cute smile and silly laugh. You amaze us each and every day, and we are so incredibly lucky that you picked us to be your parents. We look forward to all you will accomplish and the young man you will grow into. We're so proud of you already, sweet boy, and want nothing but the best for you now and forever.
Oh,
We're gonna go get you
is it?
the reunion.
I was gonna say. Now he can see himself
Yeah, now
as a
you can see.
baby. It's like, I don't know about this, Mom. Yes, Callan, that was for you, my
That was
darling.
for
That
you,
was all
Mom.
for you. We love you, all of us. Thank you for being here. Guys, it's such a privilege. Once again, thank you so much for your kind words, your beautiful. Yes, I know your parents are incredible, Callan. You have no idea how lucky you got, child.
Taking over.
Thank you once more. And I will certainly be very much looking forward to seeing your family grow from here and beyond. And thank you for making us a part of your beautiful family.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for helping us create it.
Yes.